Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. It's a massive day as far as Celtic are concerned. Brendan Rodgers obviously goes up to the gallows today to face the furore, the fury of the SFA and the refs. And they've employed legal Nick DeMarco. But who is Nick DeMarco and why have Celtic employed such a guy with such a name? Well, I done a bit of digging into Nick DeMarco and we're going to talk about him this morning. Nick DeMarco KC is a barrister at Blackstone Chambers. He is sports law. He's an author of Football and Law, Sports Host Law podcast. He's a photographer, a podcaster, a filmmaker, a foodie, a winemaker, an artist, and a QPR fan. There you go. That's all from his LinkedIn page. He wrote a book on sports law, packed with punch, and his last post on LinkedIn since moving nearly 2 weeks ago. This was 19 hours ago, so this was just yesterday. Since moving 2 weeks ago, I've had time for photography work at the moment, plus unpacking. Most of my camera's still on boxes. So yeah, how much work has he been doing on Celtic then? It does have a Twitter page, and for all those asking about Man CFFP, Premier League proceedings, possible sanctions, potential claims by other clubs, start looking at the Football and Law book, the book he wrote. So that's interesting. And then when you look at his BlackstoneChambers.com barrister, Nick DeMarco literally wrote a book on football law. So he is an expert on football law. And he excels across examination, has a real gravitas and presence. He looks like a Tory. He talks like a Tory. He looks like a Tory, cause we all know. Of course, he's a fucking Tory too. Anyway, it's going to be an interesting one, and there'll be lots coming out today. He also, don't know how Celtic fans will feel about this, but it's believed that Nick DeMarco is a King's Counsel. The Celtic change Parkhead boss he's been engaging with Celtic, obviously to help Celtic and Brendan Rodgers avoid a minimum of a 2-game touchline ban. His comments about the officials following the 2-0 Premiership defeat to Hearts on March the 3rd. DeMarco, whose services have been enlisted by Celtic in the past, he's been hired by more than 40 clubs to fight various legal things. So it's his turn to ensure that Brendan Rodgers isn't forced to sit in the stand. And Rodgers was outraged at the fact that Yang was yellow carded. It was upgraded to a red card for his tackle on Alex Cochrane, remember? And the penalty for Tomoki Iwata. Even remember that penalty? The ball hits him on the back of the arm. There's no way that he can get out of where the ball... I mean, the ball comes off the head of the Hearts player and hits Tomoki Iwata on the back of the arm. But they decided to give it a penalty. Anyway, saying that his arm... I mean, fuck, how can you get out of the way when a ball hits you on the back of the arm? Anyway, it's going to be an interesting day. This guy, both decisions were thingied by VAR and John Beaton on the day. Celtic manager said at the time, I respected the difference and given the benefit of the doubt. But I think when you see the level of incompetence, which is the only word I can use that makes it a worry for the game, said Brendan Rodgers. And that's why they went, fucking incompetent. Aye, we'll show you incompetent. We'll ban you for the fucking end of the season. And that's basically what it comes down to. Such a tight title race. I mean, we are top of the league. Yes, we are still top of the league. But I think we've been forgetting about that over the last couple of weeks. And we are top of the league. Fair enough, they've got a game in hand. But I think when you look at the games that they'll have to play in a short period of time, it all goes in Celtic's favour. But let's get today out of the way. For John Beaton, who took the VAR decisions, supposedly under no pressure. Of course, Beaton was fucking funny handshake. Beaton, what do you expect? Rodgers says, my job is to defend the team, defend the club, and that's what we'll do in this case. We're going to vigorously defend it when the date comes, and we'll go from there. And they've employed this guy. He does have a lot of social media presence for somebody in his position. But it's going to be an interesting day. One of the top law barristers in and it's going to be interesting. So as soon as anything comes out, we'll jump on. We might do a live actually, straight after it today, rather than waiting around to 6 o'clock tonight. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, and other Celtic news, obviously, Brendan Rodgers' ban. Peter Grant has said that the conspiracy theorists will come out. Come on, Peter Grant, you know the score. I don't believe this nonsense that conspiracy theorists will come out just because of Brendan Rodgers getting banned. I think we all know what's going on, and even for years' time at Celtic. In other Celtic news, Stephen Welsh says that an 18-year-old youngster is really impressing the first team, and we all know who he's talking about. But when you look at the young players that are coming through Celtic at the moment, is Daniel Kelly one for the future? I think he definitely is. I think young Daniel Kelly is going to be a fantastic player. And I've said it already. I think that Daniel Kelly will be the guy that takes the captain armband off of our captain when he decides to retire. That's how good I think Daniel Kelly will be. And now, mark my words for it, but Welsh has said, look, we've got a big squad just now, and the opportunities for young lads are few and far between. But young guys like Daniel Kelly, who's coming into the squad, he says they've been excellent in training. He says, I know there may be 4 or 5 up at a time, but the gaffer doesn't just put them in to give him his debut. He's earned it through hard work on the training pitch. So when we talk about Kwon that's away to St Mirren, who I don't think will come back to Celtic. I definitely don't think he'll come back to Celtic. Is Daniel Kelly better than Kwon? I prefer, do you know what my stance on the thing is I think that Celtic should be bringing more youngsters through than what we do. Hopefully with this 20 million investment for the new training pitch at Barrowfield, that will help us maybe retain the services of some of the younger players, because then if they feel like they're at a real professional level at the B team level, and they're training in this magnificent arena that we're building with it's going to have 4,000 or 5,000 seats, or something. I'm not exactly sure. It's going to have seats in it, and the women's football is going to play there. But I think if we can get the system set up so that players feel that they're at a big club, and I think that seems to be part of the problem, is when they're playing for the B team, they don't feel like they're playing for a big club. There must be something wrong, but hopefully it is turning the tide. Hopefully it's turning the tide. Then Steve Welsh said, look, Daniel Kelly has been absolutely immense in training, and he's got clear potential. That new deal that he's going to sign will ensure that he's here for the foreseeable future. A 4-year deal, which is fantastic for him. Tell me what you think about Daniel Kelly in the comments, and tell me what you think about this Nick DeMarco KC, barrister at Blackstone Chambers at Sport Law, Silk of the Year, the author of Football and Law. He's a host of Sports Law podcast, a photographer, podcaster, a filmmaker, a foodie, a winemaker, an artist, and a QPR fan. And on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.